Hello, I'm Pam Halls, and I'm the curator at Cambridge Museum of Technology. Welcome to this Cambridge Museum of Technology webinar. Produced by volunteers during lockdown, the museum has now reopened and you can visit again to explore our industrial heritage. We have had to make some adaptations to keep our visitors, volunteers and staff safe. You can find all the information you need to prepare for your visit on our website. While we are waiting for the main event to commence, there will be a short slideshow to introduce you to the museum and its work. Our mission is to enable as many people as possible to explore, enjoy and learn about Cambridge's industrial heritage. We are located about 1 mile from the centre of Cambridge on the bank of the River Cam in the old pumping station. The museum was founded 50 years ago in order to preserve the buildings and machinery of the old pumping station and also to preserve evidence of Cambridge's wider industrial heritage for future generations to enjoy. The exhibits in the museum date from the 19th and 20th centuries. Between 2014 and 2019, £2 million was invested in the museum, thanks to lottery players, Historic England and other general funders. We reopened in 2019 and were pleased to be awarded 2019 Large Museum of the Year by Museums in Cambridgeshire Consortium, as well as receiving some excellent reviews and feedback from our visitors. The pumping station was built in 1894 to solve the pressing problem of sewage contaminating the river, which had led to health issues for local residents. New sewers were built and the sewage came by gravity to a well underneath the new station. It was then pumped away by 2 steam engines to the sewage farm at Milton, where it was used as a fertiliser. The pumping station also helped to deal with Cambridge's rubbish. The boilers, which produced steam for the engines, was generated by burning the town's waste. Cambridge grew and the station needed more pumping capacity to cope. 2 gas engines were added in 1909. In 1937, an electric pump was added. The museum is used for a wide variety of events. We also run a wide range of family fun events, workshops and trails. The trails include seeking hidden rats and identifying various awful smells. Always a great favourite with the children. Many educational events are run at the museum. The site and our collection provide inspiration for history, STEM, art and design. We are popular with schools and can offer a whole range of programmes. We regularly ask our visitors how they have found their museum experience to help us understand if we are meeting their needs. We are pleased to see that we attract a wide range of age groups and we are very popular with family groups. 50% of our UK-based visitors come from outside Cambridge, with a further 15% coming from outside the UK. 92% gave us either 5 out of 5 or 4 out of 5, which is reflected in our TripAdvisor score of 4.5. The museum is nothing without a team of people that make it possible. We have 3 part-time employees backed up by almost 90 volunteers. Volunteers take on roles in all parts of the museum, from acting as trustees to caring for the collections to looking after the site and grounds. These people offer us a vast array of skills and experiences, allowing the museum to be a vibrant part of our community. We are always looking to add to this team and welcome people with all skills and from all backgrounds. As an independent museum, we are always seeking financial support. We have been particularly hit by almost 3 months of closure during the COVID-19 crisis. If you are able, please consider making a donation.
Hello, I'm Mike Ruff, musician, singer, dance teacher and author with just a bit of a background in engineering and part of the singing duo Alcock and Brown who performed here at the museum in November 2018. Today I'm going to take a look at the museum's collections from a very personal point of view, showing how the technology here had a cultural impact that almost certainly went beyond the vision of their inventors. I will illustrate my talk not only with some images, but also with a few of my favourite songs, more or less relevant, that may help give a little bit of the social content. I'll be doing this in a sort of chronological order, starting with the print room, where we are now, moving to the pumping station, and finishing with the recording and wireless technology of the Pi exhibition. The first printing presses in the mid-15th century were used to produce Bibles, in itself revolutionary, and academic works, particularly here in Cambridge. Printing really started in Cambridge around 1583, even though Henry VIII had given the university the right to appoint 3 printers or booksellers in 1534. Clearly it was a bit too newfangled for Cambridge to catch on immediately. I'm going to go right back to Henry VIII for my first song. It is a ridiculous drinking song that, although first published in 1588, clearly references Henry VIII in the second verse. I first came across this song when I started going to folk festivals in the 1970s. Martin said to his man, "Fie, man, fie." Martin said to his man, "Who's a fool now?" Martin said to his man, "Fill thou the cup and I the can. Thou hast well drunken, man, who's the fool now?" I saw the man in the moon, fie, man, fie. I saw the man in the moon, who's the fool now? I saw the man in the moon, he was clouting off St. Peter's shoon. Thou hast well drunken, man, who's the fool now? I saw the goose ring a hog, fie, man, fie. I saw a goose ring a hog, who's the fool now? I saw the goose ring a hog, and the snail it bit a dog. Thou hast well drunken, man, who's the fool now? I saw the hare chase a hound, fie, man, fie. I saw the hare chase a hound, who's the fool now? I saw the hare chase a hound, it was 20 miles above the ground. Thou hast well drunken, man, who's the fool now? Martin said to his man, "Fie, man, fie." Martin said to his man, "Who's a fool now?" Martin said to his man, "Fill thou the cup and I the can. Thou hast well drunken, man, who's the fool now?" So that second verse. In later life, Henry VIII was known as the Man in the Moon because his face had become large, round and pale. By then he had dissolved the monasteries and split from the Church of Rome. So clouting St. Peter's shoon, or polishing the Pope's shoes, was clearly as ridiculous as all the other verses. William Caxton printed an edition of Chaucer's Canterbury Tales in 1476, but as well as books, the early printers would be printing broadsides. These initially were advertisements or proclamations, but then became a forerunner of our tabloid newspapers. Songs were created and printed. One example would be the last confessions of men about to be hung, and they were often illustrated with woodcuts. Although never intended as anything but ephemera, Those that have survived provide a fascinating insight into the history of their times. One point of interest is that the woodcuts, which were often used for illustration and were the expensive bits, were constantly being recycled. And now, using digital technology, it's possible to trace the history of each broadside just simply by how worn the woodcut is. Rather than sing one of those broadsides, I'm going to sing a more recent song called The Broadside Man, which was written by John Connolly and Bill Meek around 1970, which gives the real flavour of what they were about, what the content was within them. It was also sung by the Yetis, who gave it a wider currency in the folk world and beyond. Come and buy, be ye poor or gentry. Gather round the broadside man and pay your money down. Ballads long and short and the best of every sort. For a single paltry penny all the news of London town. There are floods in Worcester town and the rain it is tumbling down. And a most amazing monster has been captured in the Dee. Here's a bold and stirring tale of the hunting of the whale, and the story of a parson who was pressed away to sea. Come and buy, be ye poor or gentry. Gather round the broadside man and pay your money down. Ballads long and short and the best of every sort. For a single paltry penny all the news of London town. Here's the finest sheets of all, fresh today from Stationers' Hall, and a newly written ballad of Lord Nelson's victory. Here's the news from all the courts, all the cases and reports, and the rantings of a pirate who was hanged on Tyburn Tree. Come and buy, be ye poor or gentry. Gather round the broadside man and pay your money down. Ballads long and short and the best of every sort. For a single paltry penny all the news of London town. Here's the story of a maid, of a brisk and rambling trade. The story of a tinker who was taken by her charms. Here's the story of a wife, it's the truth upon my life, who came upon her husband rolling in the milkmaid's arms. Come and buy, be ye poor or gentry. Gather round the broadside man and pay your money down. Ballads long and short and the best of every sort. For a single paltry penny all the news of London town. Could anyone have imagined that the publication of a book of country dances in 1651 would ensure the popularity of this form of entertainment for the next 300 years and more? John Playford was a publisher and a close friend and collaborator with Henry Purcell, but nowadays is best known for his English dancing master. Now have a think about the date 1651 and what was going on at the time. Yes, that's right, it was the time of the Commonwealth. So clearly, the Puritans were a lot less successful in banning country dancing than COVID-19. Now we're going to play you one of the dance tunes. The most obvious choice, given our current topic and location, would seem to be a dance called If All the World Were Paper, and which takes the tune of a popular nonsense song of the time, which carried on being sung for many, many years and may even be known to some of you. If all the world were paper and all the sea were ink, if all the trees were bread and cheese, what would we have to drink? The version here is played by the Assembly Players and is taken from their CD Pat Shaw's Playford. Pat Shaw was a dance teacher and musician who studied and reinterpreted Playford's original manuscripts during the 1960s, and the second part of the tune was added by Everil de Jersey, who was a friend of Pat Shaw. The next, and physically the largest and most imposing part of the museum collection, is the pumping station, with its magnificent steam engine, all the other equipment and the distinctive chimney. Now, funnily enough, there are not a lot of songs about sewage pumping and waste disposal, although many of you will probably remember My Old Man's a Dustman and You Can't Put Your Muck in Our Dustbin. That one probably needs an update to cope with green ones and black ones and purple ones, etc. Maybe there's someone amongst you or amongst the volunteers and friends of the museum who can come up with an ode to power or something similar that we can set to music. However, the impact that steam engines and other technology of the time had on this country, the world, and life in general is undeniable. Weirdly, while writing this section, I got a spam email offering me all sorts of valves and steam traps. With the steam engines in mind, I feel that a song celebrating steam engines, and there are a few, would be appropriate. I did wonder about including The Runaway Train in reference to the runaway engine here in 1905, but thought better of it. Instead, I'm going to offer you Cambone Hill. This traditional Cornish song is well known to folk and rugby clubs, with many additional and often rude verses added. The original song actually commemorates Richard Trevithick's steam engine of 1801. Looking up some details relating to this song, I found that it had actually been sung, among other Cornish songs, at the 9/11 disaster, the Twin Towers, by Rick Ruscola, who was a chief security officer, and he sang them through a megaphone to keep morale up during the evacuation of over 2,000 employees. Sadly, he himself perished.
Going up Cambone Hill, coming down. Going up Cambone Hill, coming down. The horse it stood still, the wheels went around. Going up Cambone Hill, coming down. They heaved in the coal to make steam. They heaved in the coal to make steam. They heaved on the steam. The wheel hit the beam. Going up Cambone Hill, coming down. Going up Cambone Hill, coming down. Going up Cambone Hill, coming down. The horse it stood still. The wheels went around. Going up Cambone Hill, coming down. White stockings she wore. White stockings she wore. White stockings she wore, the same as before. Going up Cambone Hill, coming down. Going up Cambone Hill, coming down. Going up Cambone Hill, coming down. The horse it stood still, the wheels went around. Going up Cambone Hill, coming down. I know the old father, old man. I know the old father, old man. I know the old man. He played in the band. Going up Cambone Hill, coming down. Going up Cambone Hill, coming down. Going up Cambone Hill, coming down. The horse it stood still, the wheels went around. Going up Cambone Hill, coming down.
What came with the Industrial Revolution were completely new forms of entertainment, such as the music hall and new theatres. Now, I'm sure you all know that the pumping station dates from 1894. But did you know that only a year later work started on the new theatre on St Andrew's Street in Cambridge, with the first show taking place on January the 20th, 1896. Some of you here, virtually, may have seen the show in October 2018 by Chris Sadler and myself here performing as Alcock and Brown. And I'm going to give you a solo version of one of those songs, Daisy, Daisy. Now, this may be something of a cliche, and there are certainly many other songs that I could have chosen. However, when Chris and I were researching details before recording material for Back in Time for the Corner Shop, they used about 5 seconds and no background information. We already knew that the Daisy in the song was the Countess of Warwick, and that she had a close friendship with Bertie, Prince of Wales, who became Edward VII, and that she was interested in women's rights and other things, but we did not know about her founding a secondary and technical school and a school of agriculture in 1897 at Big Odds near Dunmow, as well as colleges in Reading and at Studley Castle. And she also set up a needlework school for girls at nearby Easton. In 1912, she set up the Warwick Circle at Easton Lodge, which was largely dedicated to a reinvention of supposed folk traditions, pageants, dances and dialect plays under the banner of the Dunmow and District Progressive Club. Members of Cecil Sharp's English Folk Dance Society performed at the inaugural event at the Barn Theatre, and Sharp noticed that Daisy's vote of thanks contained a vision of merry dancers on village greens and the people of Easton dancing to meet the people of Dunmow.
There is a flower within my heart, Daisy, Daisy, planted one day by a glancing dart, planted by Daisy Bell. Whether she loves me or loves me not, sometimes it's hard to tell. Still I am hoping to share the lot of sweet little Daisy Bell. Daisy, Daisy, give me an answer do. I'm half crazy, all for the love of you. It won't be a stylish marriage, I can't afford a carriage, but you look sweet upon the seat of a bicycle made for two. We will go tandem as man and wife, Daisy, Daisy, pedaling away down the road of life. I am my Daisy Bell. When the road's rough we can both despise policemen and lamps as well, 'cause there are bright lights in their dazzling eyes of beautiful Daisy Bell. Daisy, Daisy, give me your answer do. I'm half crazy, all for the love of you. It won't be a stylish marriage, I can't afford the carriage, but you look sweet upon the seat of a bicycle made for two.
Finally, we come to the Pie exhibition and the museum's collection of radios and other audio equipment. Cambridge played a significant part in the development of this technology, but did anyone, apart from a few visionary authors, have any idea of the changes this would bring to society? Some felt it would make us all stay at home and be the death of music making and community events. It takes a pandemic to do that. Maybe they were right to an extent, but many aspects of our cultural life were enriched to a phenomenal extent once people had realised the potential of it all. Audio recording had a huge part to play in the collection and dissemination of traditional songs and tunes. Cecil Sharp, for example, toured the country, meeting and noting down songs in the early 20th century. Many songs were recorded using wax cylinders. These were originally held at the Vaughan Williams Memorial Library at Cecil Sharp House in London, but are now part of the Sound Archive at the British Library. You can now go online and to hear some of these. Recordings also meant that dance classes no longer needed live music, which meant that many more classes took place. In the 1920s, they apparently ran out of halls for folk dancing in London, and it is estimated that 20,000 people were dancing regularly. I'm going to play you a track recorded in 1922 and re-released in a compilation by the English Folk Dance and Song Society in 2006 by the Black Diamond Band, conducted by Cecil Sharp himself. The tune is Brighton Camp, which many of you will have heard before. Radio broadcasts also made a huge difference, as at that time the BBC were much more keen on our indigenous and traditional culture than now seems to be the case. I'm sure that many of you remember programmes for schools like Singing Together and Rhythm and Melody. There's a song from that time that sticks in my memory called Twanky Dillo, which refers to a blacksmith's bellows, a rather earlier technology. When I was researching material for a CD I did for the Farmland Museum a few years ago, I found a local reference to this song, which I didn't use at the time. Now I have found out from the Vaughan Williams Library that Ralph Vaughan Williams, or Rafe Vaughan Williams himself, collected a version of this song on the 31st of August 1906 from a Mr. Gothard at Wilburton, a mere 10 miles from this museum. The version I'm going to sing now uses mainly the words collected from a George Townsend and owes a lot to the singing of Maddie Pryor.
Here's a health to the jolly blacksmith, the best of all fellows, who works at his anvil while the boy blows the bellows, which makes my bright hammer to rise and to fall. Here's to old Cole and to young Cole and to old Cole of all. Twanky dillo, twanky dillo, twanky dillo, 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 a roaring pair of bagpipes made of the green willow. If a gentleman calls his horse for to shoe, he makes no denial of one pot or two, which makes my bright hammer to rise and to fall. Here's to old Cole and to young Cole and to old Cole of all. Twanky dillo, twanky dillo, twanky dillo, 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 a roaring pair of bagpipes made of the green willow. Here's a health to King Charlie and likewise his queen, and to all the royal little ones where'er they're seen, which makes my bright hammer to rise and to fall. Here's to old Cole and to young Cole and to old Cole of all. Twanky dillo, twanky dillo, twanky dillo, 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 a roaring pair of bagpipes made of the green willow.
There were programmes on country dancing as well. I have vague memories of hearing some of them, although I'm not sure that it is necessarily good radio. On television, I'm sure some of you can remember Scottish dancing on the White Heather Club with Andy Stewart. Another example of broadcasting are the radio ballads, created by Ewan MacColl, Peggy Seeger and Charles Parker, and first broadcast in 1958. The ballads combined interviews and sound effects of different groups of society, such as road builders, miners and fishermen, with traditional and contemporary music and songs, and became something of a broadcasting landmark. Ewan MacColl was a fascinating man, even to MI5, and had a great influence on politics, theatre and song. He got a Grammy Award for writing The First Time Ever I Saw Your Face, and he also wrote songs like Dirty Old Town, The Manchester Rambler, and even the Ballad of Ho Chi Minh. I was going to sing a different Ewan MacColl song that is written from the point of view of a factory worker about an activity many of us have rediscovered during lockdown, which is rambling. The song, The Manchester Rambler, is now classed as traditional, but was originally written for and about the mass trespass of Kinder Scout in 1933, which resulted in the formation of our first national parks. However, I changed my mind at the last minute when I found out that he wrote Sweet Thames Flow Softly for an experimental production by the Critics Group, broadcast to schools in 1966 and based on the story of Romeo and Juliet in a London setting.
I met my girl at Woolwich Pier, beneath the big crane standing, and all the love I felt for her, it passed all understanding. Took her sailing on the river, flow, sweet river, flow. London town was mine to give her, sweet Thames flow softly. Made the Thames into a crown, flow, sweet river, flow. Made a brooch of silver sound, sweet Thames flow softly. At London Yard I held her hand, at Blackwall Point I faced her, at the Isle of Dogs I kissed her mouth and tenderly embraced her. Heard the bells of Greenwich ringing, flow, sweet river, flow. All the time my heart was singing, sweet Thames flow softly. Limehouse Ridge I gave her there, flow, sweet river, flow. As a ribbon for her hair, sweet Thames flow softly. From Shadwell Docks to Nine Elms Reach, we cheek to cheek were dancing. A necklace made of London Bridge, her beauty was enhancing. Kissed her once again at Wapping, flow, sweet river, flow. After that there was no stopping, sweet Thames flow softly. Richmond Park it was a ring, flow, sweet river, flow. I'd have given her anything, sweet Thames flow softly. From Rotherhithe to Putney Bridge, my love I was declaring, and she from Kew to Isleworth her love for me was swearing. Love, it set my heart a-burning, flow, sweet river, flow. Never saw the tide was turning, sweet Thames flow softly. Gave her Hampton Court to twist, flow, sweet river, flow. Into a bracelet for her wrist, sweet flames so softly. But now, alas, the tide has changed, my love, she has gone from me, and winter's frost has touched my heart and put a blight upon me. Creeping fog is on the river, flow, sweet river, flow. Sun and moon and stars come with her, sweet Thames flow softly. Swift the Thames runs to the sea, flow, sweet river, flow. Bearing ships and a part of me, Sweet Thames flow softly. From Rotherhithe to Putney Bridge, my love I was declaring, and she from Kew to Isleworth her love for me was swearing. Love, it set my heart a-burning. Flow, sweet river, flow. Never saw the tide was turning. Sweet Thames flow softly. Gave her Hampton Court to twist. Flow, sweet river, flow. Into a bracelet for her wrist. Sweet Thames flow softly. I'm a rambler from Manchester way. I get on me pleasure the hard moorland way. I may be a wage slave on Monday, but I am a free man on Sunday. I've been o'er the Snowdon, I've slept upon Crowden, I've camped by the Wakestones as well. I've sunbathed on Kinder, been burnt to a cinder, and many more things I can tell. My rucksack has oft been my pillow, the heather has oft been my bed, and sooner than part from the mountains, I think I would rather be dead. I'm a rambler from Manchester way. I get all me pleasure the hard moorland way. I may be a wage slave on Monday, but I am a free man on Sunday. The day was just ending as I was descending by Grindbook just by upper top, when a voice cried, "Hey you!" in the way keepers do, in the worst face that ever I saw. The things that he said were unpleasant. In the teeth of his fury I said that sooner than part from the mountains, I think I would rather be dead. I'm a rambler from Manchester way. I get on me pleasure the hard moorland way. I may be a wage slave on Monday, but I am a free man on Sunday. Well, he called me a louse and said, think of the grouse. Well, I thought, but I still couldn't see why old Kinder Scout and the moors round about couldn't take the poor grouse and me. He said, all this land is my master's. At that I stood shaking my head. No man has the right to all mountains, any more than the deep ocean bed. I'm a rambler from Manchester way. I get all me pleasure the hard moorland way. I may be a wage slave on Monday, but I am a free man on Sunday. I once loved a maid, a spot welder by trade. She'd fought fair as the rowan in blue, and the blue of her eye matched the June moorland sky. And I wooed her from April to June. On the day that we should have been married, I went for a ramble instead. For sooner than part from the mountains, I think I would rather be dead. I'm a rambler from Manchester way. I get all me pleasure the hard moorland way. I may be a wage slave on Monday, but I am a free man on Sunday. So I walk where I will, over mountain and hill, and I lie where the bracken is deep. I belong to the mountains, the clear running fountains, where the rocks rise rugged and steep. I've seen the white hare in the gully, and the curlew fly high overhead. And sooner than part from the mountains, I think I would rather be dead. I'm a rambler from Manchester way. I get all me pleasure the hard moorland way. I may be a wage slave on Monday, but I am a free man on Sunday.
Thank you to all of you for logging in and listening and watching. If people are interested, then more songs could be added to make each section a separate show. And of course, I have recorded a few CDs which you can purchase and enjoy. Lastly, but by no means least, I must thank Pam Halls for suggesting and setting up this project, and Josie for doing all the filming, editing and recording and making it so much fun to do.